Good morning. My name is Harry Cotton. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Nassau County Industrial Development Agency. I am authorized to hold a public hearing. Today is November 15, 2021, and the time is now 11 a.m. We are at 235 Lincoln Place, Village of Westbury, Town of North Hempstead, Nassau County, New York. This is a public hearing pursuant to Section 859-A of the New York General Municipal Law as amended with respect to a project of the agency for Terwilliger and Bartone Properties, LLC, a limited liability company organized and existing under the laws of the state of Delaware and duly authorized to do business in the state of New York, together with entities formed or to be formed on its behalf, which has presented an application for financial assistance to the agency, which application requests that the agency consider undertaking a project consisting of the following. A1, the acquisition of a 0.74 acre parcel of land located at 461 Railroad Avenue, Village of Westbury, Town of North Hempstead, Nassau County, New York, Section 10, Lot 229, Lot 13. 2, the construction of an approximately 60,548 square foot building on the land, together with related improvements to the land, including surface parking spaces. 3, the acquisition of certain furniture, fixtures, machinery, and equipment necessary for the completion thereof, all of the foregoing for use by the applicant as a multi-family apartment building consisting of approximately 72 residential rental apartments, including 10 affordable residential rental apartments. B, the granting of certain financial assistance within the meaning of Section 854.14 of the General Municipal Law with respect to the foregoing in the form of potential exemptions or partial exemptions from real property taxes, mortgage recording taxes, and sales and use taxes. And C, the lease, license, or sale of the project facility to the applicant or such other entity as may be designated by the applicant and agreed upon by the agency. The project facility would be initially owned, operated, and or managed by the applicant or such other entity as may be designated by the applicant and agreed upon by the agency. The company would receive financial assistance from the agency in the form of potential exemptions or partial exemptions from real property taxes, sales and use taxes, and mortgage recording taxes. Notice of this public hearing was published in Newsday, the Nassau edition, on October 29, 2021, and provided to the Chief Executive Officer of each county, city, town, village, school district, and other affected tax jurisdiction within which the project facility is located by letter dated October 29, 2021. The purpose of this hearing is to provide an opportunity for all interested parties to present their views, both orally and in writing, with respect to the project and or the granting of the financial assistance. We have a stenographer present who will be transcribing this hearing so we can add a transcript of this hearing to the public record. Please note that this hearing is being both live streamed and recorded. Should anyone wish to view a recording of this hearing, you will find the video on the agency's YouTube channel at www.nassauidalive.org. Interested parties may also submit written comments, which will be included within the public hearing records. Written comments may be sent to my attention, Harry Cotton, Chief Executive Officer, at 1 West Street, 4th floor, Minneapolis, New York, 11501, or via email to info@nassauida.org. All written comments will need to be submitted to the agency by noon, Thursday, November 18th, in order to be incorporated into the public comment file in time for that evening's meeting of the agency board. Before we commence with public comment, I would first like to ask Mr. Dan Deegan of the firm Jelly Deegan Toronto, who is counsel to the applicant, if you would like to make a presentation on behalf of the applicant.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Cotton. As you indicated, Mike, is this on?
You can turn it on. Turn it on the button in front.
Is that better? Okay, so for the record, my name is Dan Deegan, the attorney for the applicant, Terwilliger and Bartone. Also for the record, we have in the Bartone is a principal of the applicant. I want to thank the IDA for the opportunity to make a very brief presentation, just to call out some points that were not mentioned in the official notice. This project is, well, first let me just say Terwilliger Bartone has an excellent reputation and track record on Long Island of success in other municipalities doing transit-oriented development, with several projects already under their belt and several underway. This particular project is part of the village's initiative initially to revitalize the area around the train station. And they wanted to do so by creating transit-oriented development. This project is the definition of that. It is pretty much right on Railroad Avenue. It would be walkable to the train station. The applicant has worked very closely with the village in order to get the approvals for the project consistent with the village's zoning code and their vision for this area of the village. We've also worked very closely with the IDA in order to obtain financial assistance that's necessary for a project like this in order to be built. Without the IDA's assistance, a project like this does not pencil out, is not financially feasible. We're going to be creating a brand new big tax base for the village, and all we're asking for really is to phase in those taxes over a period of time so that it is financially feasible. Right now, the site is currently improved with older structures that are lighted and underutilized, so this will be also be a beautification of the area. We believe consistent with the policies of the IDA, the county itself, and the village in for projects like this around the train station. So with that being said, I think that's the end of my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. For the record, I would also like to state that generally Agency Chairman Richard Kessel attends these hearings, but he's unable to join us this morning. So I'd just like to note for the record, according to the agency chairman, he has reached out to the Honorable Mayor Peter Catalaro of the Village of Westbury, the Supervisor of the Town of North Hempstead, Judy Bosworth, Legislator Sheila Bino, and Dr. Roger Bloom, the Interim Superintendent of the Westbury School District. I know he has reached out. I cannot state the record for a combination conversations had. Now, at this time, is there anyone else wishing to be heard with respect to the project or the financial assistance? If you would please step to the microphone and state your name for the record, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to make a public record. My name is Robert Troiano. I'm the president of the Westbury Board of Education. Prior to being on the Board of Education, I was a counselor for the town of North Hempstead, where we conducted a revitalization of Prospect Avenue that could not have gone forward without the IDA granting pilots to developers. And so I understand the importance of a pilot to a development and success of its financial viability. I will also note that the $26 million award-winning intergenerational Yes We Can Community Center in Newcastle could not have been done without the IDA involvement in establishing a pilot payment for the next. I will also just want to point out that I saw that my Vice President of the Board of Education, Floyd Ewing, is with us involved today. And back in 2018, the Westbury Board of Education met with the mayor of Westbury, as well as several of the trustees and their consultants on the general concept for the redevelopment of the industrial zoning area in Westbury. And the board at that time gave its agreement to conceptually helping developers to be able to develop their projects by having pilots involved. We understood that that would be necessary, that more than likely that would be necessary, and we gave our agreement to that conception. But we were waiting to get actual specifics, actual details of particular pilot agreements. And notwithstanding, Mr. Cotton, your reference to the people that the chairman has reached out to, I am not aware that there's been any discussions with the Westbury School District regarding this particular pilot. And while we support the idea conceptually, we would like the opportunity to meet with Mr. Bartone, to meet with Mr. Deegan, and the IDA in regard to the exact nature of the proposal, which we have not seen. All we have seen is Exhibit A, which lays out the schedule for pilot payments, but we have not seen any projections of the number of students that would be coming to the Westbury School District. We don't understand why it's necessary for the financial viability of this project, that the pilot would give at all. And we certainly question, not having any details, why a pilot of 20 years in duration is necessary. I think that that's a rather lengthy time, but it may be legitimate and necessary. But the Westbury School District has not been consulted. We've had no discussion, and we just like to understand more about that. So we will, if necessary, submit a written record of my comments now. But we would also, at this time, respectfully request that the IDA postpone its meeting on Thursday, if it is the intent of that meeting to grant approval to this agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Triano. As you noted, Mr. Bartone and Mr. Deegan are in the audience, and I would urge them to have a conversation with you following the meeting. Now, make sure you have my contact information.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to be heard?
Hi. Good morning. My name is Anna Mixa. I'm the village attorney for the village of Westbury. And we would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak on the matter. The board of trustees has had a number of conversations, as you know, with the applicant and the IDA and the consultants regarding the suitable pilot for the subject properties. The village has always acknowledged that the project will require IDA assistance, and we don't oppose that. We want to have projects that are feasible and also meet the villages and communities' needs. The board of trustees has adopted a set of resolutions regarding the applicant's project that approve the project. There are conditions on a pilot which is acceptable to the village. The pilot needs to meet certain parameters that the board of trustees has set out in the resolution and the applicable provisions of the code. The village has consistently stated that it requires certain things to be included in the pilot. They want it to be fair and reasonable. Those include a pilot duration of no more than 15 years, a pilot starting at full year taxes and phasing into full assessment thereafter with a straight line phase-in. No loss of revenue to any taxing jurisdiction at any time. That is never lower than the last year undeveloped taxes, and a host community made whole. The proposed pilot meets most of those criteria, and our discussions with the applicant and the IDA, the village has become more comfortable with 20-year duration, since that seems to be the most common for these projects at this point, and it seems to be what is required for project feasibility. And we know that the applicant originally had sought a longer duration of the pilot payment. So there are two remaining issues in our view at this point. And the first one is how the IDA has calculated the phase-in to the full taxes, and that phase-in was attached to the notice of the hearing. I'm going to ask our assessor, Mr. Cordy, to speak on that issue, but basically we want to know how the IDA came to that schedule. How was it proposed and developed? And secondly, the village code and the adopting resolutions require that the applicant agree to a host community make-whole agreement and pay to the village an amount that is set forth in that agreement. And our concern is that the notice states that, quote, the pilot payment shall be reduced by any special taxes, assessments, or levies. And we want to know and be sure that the payment made to the village under the host agreement, make-whole agreement, will not reduce that pilot payment. To that end, the village would like the final pilot agreement to explicitly state that any payments made pursuant to the host community make-whole agreement shall not be reduced from the pilot payments. If the make-whole payments are deducted from the pilot payments, the pilot agreement will fail to meet the conditions that the village board trustees set forth in their approval of the project. And the conditions will fail, and so there will be no approval from the village. But assuming that these two issues are adequately explained and the IDA adopts the schedule that's acceptable to our assessor, we would agree that the pilot as presented is fair and it balances the interests of all concerned. But if the IDA does not do so, further discussion really is necessary between the IDA and the village and the applicant. The applicant is required to present to the village a pilot agreement that is acceptable to the village, and so it's important that this issue be resolved. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Cordy, who's going to speak further on that issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Cordy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve Cordy, I'm the deputy, assessor of the village of Westbury. Our question was rather simple. We agreed with, we went through obviously the review of what we got of the pilot payment. We went through all the individual years. We agreed with everything right up to the starting point of the $136,000 figure, but we seem to differ from year 2 to the end of the pilot. Our rate of increase over the term was at 5% a year. We took this as a straight line method over a 20-year period. Obviously, the idea is using something very different than 5%. We don't know what that is. Mathematically, we haven't been able to figure that out. So the simple question is, are we someone here today to answer that? Or we would have to get back to us at a later time with what that rate of increase is. We certainly appreciate that, and maybe then have some further questions or further discussion. But everything to that point is fine.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. Appreciate your time this morning, and we will, of course, discuss with the village that calculation. I can tell you we worked very hard with the applicant to create a pilot schedule that met the requirements for the request of the village. Regarding the vehicle payments, I'll leave that to Mr. Dean and Mr. Bartone to address with the village directly.
Floyd Ewing, 629 Nelson Place, Westbury, New York. I am the Vice President of the Westbury Free School District. Just wanted to know, in addition to this pilot program, I know there are other construction projects that may come about. Has the IDA taken into consideration the effect of all of the projects that pilots are going to be given out for most of these projects that are coming up on Union Avenue area? How are you taking that into account for this particular one? Because this will be the model for everyone. So just wanted information that was taken into account.
This is the only project this agency has before at this time, and we look at each project as a unique project. Mr. Boyce.
Chairman, if I may, this was the spreadsheet that we had created as a side-by-side comparison. I just like to leave this with us on the record as well.
We'll make sure it's entered into the record.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, on behalf of the agency, I would like to thank everyone for attending this public hearing and for their comments with respect to the project and the financial assistance. It is now 11:17 a.m. and I now call this hearing to a close. Thank you all for joining us this morning.